Want to play Souls-like games but you're intimidated or just want to relax after a tough day? You might think it's impossible, but these surprisingly accessible games give you the challenge and satisfaction without the additional frustration. It's Gamer After Shift, and today we're diving into my list of Souls-like that breaks the stereotype and prove that anyone can enjoy this awesome genre. Let's get started.
Falls below.
Starting off the list is Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn. This one might not scream like Souls-like at first glance, and you're right, it's actually marketed as Souls-light, and if that doesn't mean a low barrier to entry for the Souls-like genre, well, I don't know what does. Add to the fact that it has 3 difficulty options that makes for a very customizable gameplay experience. Flintlock delivers a challenging and rewarding experience. It just does it with a bit more of a forgiving learning curve, a lower skill floor, and a lighter, more adventurous tone. Think of it as the good introduction to the genre. It's got all the core elements you'd expect, but it's a bit easier to pick up and play. For example, you don't have to worry about managing stamina, which makes resource management a lot less stressful. This means you can focus on mastering the combat system and experimenting with different builds without getting bogged down in complex mechanics. This is also the reason why it's in the 3rd spot, because with too many handicaps, it might be hard to transfer to an actual Souls-like because you're missing the fundamental or the true fundamental skills needed. In Flintlock, you play as Vanek, a skilled soldier who's out for revenge against the gods themselves. She's joined by her loyal companion, Enki, a magical fox-like creature who adds a whole new dimension to combat apart from the story's impact. And that's where Flintlock really shines, the synergy between Nor and Enki. You can command Enki to attack and disrupt enemies, which adds this layer of tactical depth that keeps the combat fresh and exciting. The world itself is great. You'll explore ancient ruins, vast deserts, and forgotten cities, all the while uncovering the secrets of Flintlock's pantheon. It's got that sense of wonder and discovery without the overwhelming size of a typical open world game. The combat features 3 main options: get up close and personal with melee, pick off enemies from afar with your black powder and ranged attacks, or unleash some devastating magic. The cool thing is you can actually grind your way to invest in all 3 of them if you want to be a true jack of all trades. But for those of us with limited gaming time, you might want to focus on 1 or 2 that suits your playstyle. And don't forget about your gear. Finding and equipping the right gear is crucial for completing your ideal build. Whether you're going for a full-on mage, a sharpshooting gunslinger, or a melee warrior, the right gear can make all the difference as it really completes the combat strategy of your build by adding certain effects. Flintlock also features some seriously satisfying traversal mechanics. Rift jumping is such a great feature that I'm compelled to use it every time I see a rift. Honestly, it's some of the most fun I've had just moving around in a game. The world is beautifully designed with tons of verticality and platforms to discover, making the most out of the traversal mechanics. Overall, this is a Souls-like with mythology as its main theme, with a compelling story and a rewarding combat system, and of course the excellent traversal gimmick. Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn is definitely worth checking out as one of the easier Souls-like out there.
Thirsty. So thirsty.
Second to the best is Vampire, or Vampire? Well, I'm just gonna go with Vampire. Now, I know there's some debate about whether it truly qualifies as a Souls-like, but hear me out. It's got stamina management, combat with a focus on dodging and timing your attacks, and a deep system for customizing your vampire abilities and arsenal, so I think it checks out quite a bit. In Vampire, you play as Dr. Jonathan Reed, a war veteran turned into a vampire against his will. He's struggling with his newfound bloodlust while also trying to uncover the truth behind a deadly epidemic that's ravaging London. But here's the twist. Every citizen you meet is a potential victim. You can choose to prey on them to become stronger in combat, but it'll have consequences for the story and the world around you. It's a really cool morality system that adds a unique layer to the gameplay. And get this, you're also in charge of an area's general health. If too many people get sick or die, their district becomes incredibly hostile. Suddenly, you're facing tougher enemies and even more challenges. It adds some strong RPG elements with these choices, to be honest. It's these tough choices that makes Vampire so compelling. You're not just a vampire, you're a doctor sworn to protect life. How far are you willing to go to survive? Should you prioritize your combat efficiency at the expense of others' lives? These are some very fun choices to make as you play along the way. The combat in Vampire is definitely manageable or more manageable even for Souls-like newcomers, and the dodge mechanic, it's just exceptional. Forget those rolls, you've got this quick, supernatural sidestep that lets you weave through attacks like a shadow. It's not the most challenging Souls-like out there, but that's the part of its charm, and it's also why it's on this list. You can really get into the flow of combat easier, learn enemy patterns much more quicker, and experiment with different builds without getting constantly punished. You can build Jonathan into a straight up brawler, focusing on his upgraded physical prowess and mastering those brutal claws and fangs. Or, if you prefer a more spellcaster like approach, you can draw power from blood and you can rely on your shadow manipulation abilities. The best part is you're not locked into any one path. You can mix and match abilities. Actually, it's encouraged to mix and match so that you can determine or create a truly unique build that fits your overall playstyle and combat strategy. Overall, Vampire is a great choice if you're looking for an easy Souls-like experience with a strong narrative focus, good RPG mechanics with some interesting moral choices to make. Or if you just really want to be a vampire and play into its power fantasy.
This machine that is now somehow able to speak.
To top the list, the best option for chill gamers and newcomers who wants a Souls-like experience without the Souls-like frustration is Steel Rising. Featuring a theme of historical steampunk dark fantasy, this one takes the Souls-like formula and throws in a healthy dose of French Revolution with a dash of clockwork automatons for good measure. The game features a solid narrative and story as expected from their developer, Spiders. In Steel Rising, you play as Aegis, an automaton warrior serving the Queen Marie Antoinette to stop the king from decimating Paris. As you play further, you're soon bound to discover a more sinister secret surrounding the rise of these bloodthirsty contraptions. What sets Steel Rising apart is its incredible setting. This isn't your typical dark fantasy world. You're fighting through the streets of Paris, complete with iconic landmarks and a sense of historical grandeur. But what does Steel Rising have that makes it the best Souls-like game for beginners and chill gamers? The real game changer is Steel Rising's assist mode. This is what makes it perfect for both relaxed Souls-like session and as an introduction to the genre. Think of it like a difficulty slider for Souls-like games. You can customize different aspects of the game to make it as challenging or as forgiving as you want, even to the point of invulnerability. This means you can tailor the gameplay experience to match your skill level or your mood. The beauty of it is you can adjust these settings at any time. So if you're stuck on a particular boss or just want to breeze through a certain section, you can tweak the assist to suit your needs. And hey, if you start with some assistance and find yourself getting better, you can always gradually reduce it until you're playing with no help at all. It's the perfect way to learn the ropes and build your confidence in the Souls-like genre. Another thing that sets Steel Rising apart is its unique traversal abilities. As you progress, you'll unlock 3 special tools that completely change how you navigate the world. These tools aren't just for show. They're integrated into the level design, encouraging you to explore every nook and cranny of the 18th century Paris. You'll be using them to solve environmental puzzles, reach hidden areas, and even gain an advantage in combat. Each move represents a core element of Steel Rising's combat, allowing you to dish elemental damage even without a weapon of the said element. Speaking of elements, Steel Rising features 3 main ones: Flame, Frost, and Fulmination. Each has its own unique effect. Flame causes burn, dealing damage over time. Frost can freeze enemies, giving you a chance to breathe or land a critical hit. And Fulmination inflicts the shock status, which increases the damage they take. This adds a whole new layer of strategy to combat. You can use your traversal abilities to exploit enemy weaknesses, inflict status ailments, and maximize your damage output. It's all about finding the right tool for the job and using it creatively. The fighting in Steel Rising is very stylish, and each weapon has its own unique moves and feels different. There are many different weapons to choose from, so you can find one that you like. Aegis moves and fights in a graceful way, which is different from the dark and gloomy world around her, making her performative combat really stand out. So, if you're looking for a Souls-like game with a very customizable level of difficulty, challenging yet rewarding combat, and a touch of steampunk setting, Steel Rising is the game for you. And there you have it. My list of Souls-like games that are perfect for relaxing after a long shift or for those looking to dip their toes into the genre. Do you agree with this list, or do you even agree with the concept of accessible Souls-like games in the first place? Leave your thoughts down in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more gaming content. It's Gamer After Shift, and I'll see you in a bit.